You are listening to the Exitology Unlock Your Profits, Unlock Your Potential show on the #1 global business talk and news network on the internet, IBGR, International Business Growth Radio. I'm Jason Wally Waldron, your host, as always, here. And I want to invite you guys to join us at one of our executive briefings. If you go to exitology.com and click on Contact Us, what we will do is we will chat with you. You can always send in questions and we will answer them on the show, but we will also chat with you and see if you're interested in creating your perfect exit. And if you are, we'll invite you to join us for a short discussion on one of our live executive briefings here coming up. We typically hold them a couple times a month, and it is one of the ways that we share back to the business community and help them understand how to grow their business when they're setting themselves up for exit. And I am joined here today with Gary Goldwasser, the leading business broker of Transworld Business Advisors of Colorado. And what Gary doesn't know that I'm about to say, and hopefully he doesn't turn too red, is the reason he is on the show today is because I had 3 different people who were all unrelated, at least beknownst to me, look at what I was doing out in the marketplace, and they said, you have to know Gary. And so, Gary, thank you for being here with us today.
That's kind words. Thank you.
Well, what we're going to talk about here in this section is I'm excited about it. And we might poke the bear a little bit and have some fun here, but we're going to talk about, from an owner's perspective, how do we set a realistic expectation on the selling price? And before I let you do your thing, I just want to say that there are so many schools of thought on this, all the way towards whatever the seller will pay for your business is what your business is worth, which is a very market-based approach, to an entire different body of knowledge, which says, there's a lot of work you can do on the front end to make sure that you maximize the value of a business, and kind of everything in between. So maybe you could just tell us, you've been doing this since 2015. You've gone through COVID. You've gone through post-COVID. You've gone through pre-COVID. You've gone through everything. Tell us some stories. Like, what really happens out there when you're trying to set a price for a business?
Well, I consider myself and our team experts. This is what we do every day. We analyze and look at businesses. Mm-hmm. We know, buyers are savvy. They have the tools online to assess a value of a business. And so it's just like buying a house. You can't put, if your house is only worth $600,000, you can't sell it for $1 million. Mm-hmm. It has to be appraised as well as, just like a house has to be appraised if you're going through financing. Mm-hmm. So I think there's misnomers out there. We have accountants that think that they understand perhaps how a business is priced, and a lot of them don't. But the owner will go to their CPA because that's who they feel is knowledgeable about this, and say, hey, I want to sell my business. What do you think it's worth?
So you bring up a really good point here, because a few minutes ago we talked about, in an ideal situation, somebody is doing this type of work 2, 3, maybe even 5 years out to get their business prepared for sale. Do you like to see a business come to you with a couple of valuations under their belt, or how does that look on your side? How does that help? Does it hurt? How's that fit together?
So when I see appraisals, a lot of times they don't really represent what the market is dictating in appraisals.
Gotcha.
So last year, I think the average business, again, this is every business in Colorado, was like 2.38 times SDEs, sellers discretionary earnings. Yep. It's basically EBITDA plus owner's W-2 comp.
Okay.
And so that's kind of an average, but it always depends on there's so many variables to a business. Is it a chuck in the truck, a one-man guy that does everything? Well, the value of that business is probably not as good as a value of a business that's got processes in place, employees in place, and they're more the visionary and the leader, and they're not involved in day-to-day operations.
Yeah, that's a really great point that you make there. And first of all, thank you for sharing that stat, because I'm always curious as to what the multiple on the cash flow is of the business. Just how's the market looking at things? And when I first got into this side of the business, it was well over 10 years ago. It really hasn't budged that much, actually. It was maybe 2.2x or something like that. And what I like about that is that we've got a stake in the ground that we can manage against, right? So
Realistic expectations.
realistic expectations. That's right. Take whatever you thought you were going to get and probably ratchet that number down extremely a lot, and know that there's work to be done to get up to the number you want. Right. That's really how it works.
I really tell sellers this. They're like, hey, I want $3 million for your business. Well, it's only worth $1 million.
Yep.
You want to sell now? And if you do want to sell now, this is kind of the range it needs to be. If you want to wait, what are you going to do differently, Mr. Seller or Mrs. Seller?
Great question.
To get to that 3 million? Are you going to use someone like you, Wally, an exit strategist?
Right.
Are you going to do some marketing? If you're just going to, well, I'm just going to continue to do what I'm doing, you're going to get the same results 3 years from now. So you might as well sell now.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't, that's what I like about you, Gary. And that's what I like about your perspective. It's just grounded in reality. And that's a real hard decision. And, you know, that's why we talk about beginning with the end in mind. We honor the fact, and you know this for a fact, we have lots of folks who will come to us, get educated on what it's going to take to maximize that value and actually close that wealth gap that they have. And then they say, you know what, a bird in hand is better than two in the bush. I'm done. It's okay. And we honor all of the options that people want to do. Look, it's your business and you've grown it. On the other hand, though, to your point, you know, if you could de-risk the business owner, decentralize them, and really, you know, create this business that has the operations that run without the business owner. An interesting thing oftentimes happens where the business owner starts to go on vacations and fall in love with the business again, and they really are able to become that leader, and then they do maximize that value when they come back to you 3 years later. So it's a pretty cool option if they choose to take that route.
The other thing I think it's important is sellers, are they really wanting to sell their business? Is there a compelling reason? Are they serious about selling their business? And a lot of them are just, well, if I got X, I'd be happy. Well, that's not a strategy for selling your business.
Yeah, that's pretty lazy, really, in terms of thinking and everything, right? So what would you say to the owner who does come to you and say, hey, you know, I'll sign the document and see if you can put it to market? You know, like, you can feel the way that I don't have any energy or buy-in on that. What would you say to that person?
I would ask what their pain points are. I would say, what is your pain points? Is it I'm burnout, I'm tired of employees, I want to retire? Or is it I still got energy in the tank? Well, do you want to take some of those burdens off of yourself? And maybe you're a good sales guy and you don't like the business side. Maybe we sell the business and you stay on in a sales capacity because that's what you like to do.
Yeah.
So we give them options, and we want them to be serious buyers. I mean, serious sellers.
Yeah,
if they're not serious, you don't want to waste a buyer's time if he comes with an offer. Now, again, we have to set realistic expectation for that selling price. If your business is worth $3 million and you want $5 million, that's a $2 million gap. That's hard to get.
Right.
Unless you're going to do all the things to get to $5 million.
Yeah, exactly. And we have an entire roadmap. That's what we talked about at the top here. That's what we share with our executive briefings. And it's, you know, it's a multi-year process, just so that everybody knows. It's not like you clean up your books and sort of like rejigger some things and you go and you close the $2 million gap. The marketplace is smarter than all of us because it is all of us.
Right. And I always say your business is worth what a buyer will pay for it.
Right.
But we have the tools and the education and the knowledge to tell you what the business should go for in the market. And, you know, we're going to be honest with you because, you know, we're on a commission based. The more the higher we sell the business, the more money we're going to make. So we want to maximize your value, but we also want realistic expectations.
Yeah, and what I love, there's a creative tension and an alignment there, and I like that you shared how that part of the business actually works, because there is alignment. If you're looking at the business and you can set this business up with the correct buyer, then you are incentivized to take a piece of that reward along with the person who is selling the business. And I love that. I think, it's a beautiful thing because it puts everybody into the same direction. But then at the same time, it keeps you and it keeps everybody honest, because you're not going to necessarily swing for the fences on something that's just a silly valuation, knowing that it's going to waste everybody's time. Because again, at the end of the day, what do we have besides time? Right.
Well, I was just talking to a seller today who wants to sell a really nice business that's making good money.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I did some calculations, and you also have to make sure it's bank financeable. Will the cash flow on the business be able to support the debt service? That's a big thing in keeping the buyer pool. And so I went to the seller and I said, look, I think we can get $2.5 million. He wanted a little bit more than that, maybe like 2.7. I said, I think 2.5 is going to be our max. It might end up being in that 2.3 to 2.4 play.
Yeah.
At least, again, setting the expectation.
Yeah. No, and I think that's, there's an art to it, but I love what you're doing there, which is just continually putting these two pieces together so that the transfer of the value can actually take place. Because that's really, at the end of the day, I mean, the word trans world, right? It's right in your name, right? Yeah. But trans world, right? Transfer of value. It's all right there. And so yeah, I really appreciate what you've shared with us here about setting these realistic expectations. So Gary, one more time, share your phone number for the folks who may not have caught that, and then we'll break right after that.
Yeah, you can reach me at 303-748-7420 or Goldwasser@tworld.com.
Awesome. We'll be right back with you here.